5.
Curry hits a three.
4.
Just on the drive. Deep left field.
3.
Patrick hit by Watt. Sack number 10.
2.
Messi with a record-breaking goal.
1.
Welcome to BSS Sports. Now, here are your hosts, Steve and Trevor.
Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of BSS Sports. My name is Steven Schill with the ever-lovely Monsieur Trevor Struthers. And if you had the opportunity to catch Sunday Night Football last night, you would know that Tampa Bay Buccaneers exist. It's shocking. We live in Canada, and we never get any games. It's not really that shocking, just because I don't know why. Anyway, with that being said, there's still the argument about Dak Prescott versus Tony Romo. However, Prescott went 32 of 36 last night passing, didn't have any interceptions, although he didn't have any touchdowns either. The main character in this whole Cowboys thing was Ezekiel Elliott, scoring a touchdown and then running to the Salvation Army bucket and hiding in it while the photographers ran over to create a very picturesque moment. I think the Cowboys are going to do it this year. They're confident. The way their defense is playing is pretty good. Their offense is clicking. I mean, if Dak Prescott doesn't seem to work out at all, you have Tony Romo on the bench. Is there a downside to the Cowboys, and how did you find they fared against the Buccaneers?
They fared well against the Buccaneers, but the real interesting question was how were the Buccaneers going to fare against the Cowboys? The thing about the Cowboys moving forward clearly is when they get into the playoffs, they're relying on two rookies, essentially a quarterback and running back. I mean, those are their stars to carry them through the playoffs. And I mean, that's the big, question mark and downside to what the Cowboys have done so far this season. I mean, so far they haven't wavered, but I mean, it only takes one game once you get to the playoffs, one game where they both struggle, one game where maybe one of them struggles, and they come up short against a tremendous football team, and that's it.
I'm just concerned with Jameis Winston. Against this Cowboys, he threw, I think it was 2 or 3 interceptions. The team as a whole had 4 turnovers, and you just can't do that. If they want to be like a playoff team, I mean, the Cowboys had no turnovers whatsoever, and I know they're having a hell of a year. But with that being said, are the Bucs the main fault of this game? I feel the Buccaneers could have won this game. They were down, but they came back. But then they ruined it for themselves because they kept turning it over.
Yeah, whenever you're within a chance in the fourth quarter to win the game like the Bucs were, yeah, of course you have a shot to win the game. And then you look back at those turnovers and think of the missed opportunities that you had. And, that's what it comes down to. I mean, you're going to turn the ball over in games. And if you don't, like Dallas did, you deserve major credit for it. But the key for the Bucs was to limit the turnovers, and they pushed the line a bit with having a few interceptions, but ultimately it just wasn't meant to be. And against a Cowboys team that has played as well as it has and has won as many games as it has, I mean, that's definitely where you got to watch the turnovers. And I mean, if you give up a good field position to a team like that, as a running back like Ezekiel that has gone off the way he has, then it's pretty dangerous.
You know what's also concerning with this whole, Ezekiel Elliott being a beast is how bad the Cleveland Browns still are. They're 0-14. We talk about this every week. Nothing seems to be improving with this team. I mean, this time they played Buffalo, and I mean, Buffalo's an all-right team. They're 7-7. But Cleveland, they're 0-14. 0-14. At what point are we ever going to take this team seriously? Is that possible? Is that possible?
Well, they need to start by winning a game because, let's be honest. I mean, they have a fair shot at being the second ever team to have an 0-16 season since they had the 16-game season brought in back in the 70s. So, I mean, that's dangerous water right there you're treading when it comes to trying to find some way to be respectable. But, I mean, hey, they lost to Buffalo. I mean, that was maybe an opportunity for them because Buffalo, I mean, essentially they lost the right to be in the playoffs. I think there's still a slight possibility for them to get in, but it's like a lot of things have to go their way. So they're in a bit of a pickle, talking about firing the coach potentially. Whereas, I mean, this upcoming week, maybe there's an opportunity as well. I mean, you're playing San Diego, which they're without Melvin Gordon potentially, and that's a team there that is under 500. I mean, so they do have an opportunity this week for Cleveland to get that first win. The ultimate question is, will they be able to perform? And I mean, chances are, if you look at the season, they won't be able to.
Very, very true. And sticking with this NFL topic, Brock Osweiler, I don't really know what to think about the situation, more because of the standpoint of, hey, the Texans are going to, go out on a limb, try to sign this guy who had basically a single season that was really good with the Broncos, and I mean really good. I mean like really good, like they won the Super Bowl type of deal. I mean, obviously Peyton Manning was the one that technically won it, but I mean you got to be scratching your head if you're the Texans. I mean, Jadeveon Clowney, he's back, he's doing good, he's not a bust, first overall pick, doing well, but now you have an issue of the quarterback not playing to the best of his ability. Now, is it Osweiler's fault, or are there just not many options for him to work with?
Well, it didn't help that he didn't have his regular tight end. With that being said, the tight end that they ended up playing was, I mean, he did his job. He handled all 8 targets. So whenever you get 8 receptions on 8 targets, as a receiver, you're doing your job. But as the quarterback situation plays out, it doesn't help that game, or it doesn't help the fact for Osweiler that they ended up coming back to win that game against Jacksonville. And I mean, a lot of people take shots at Jacksonville, but they have a very good secondary, and they're very good at limiting the passing game. But I mean, the Texans were able to help use that to bring them back into the football game and ultimately win it. And it resulted in Jacksonville firing their coach, because that loss, I guess, was so embarrassing to a team that has struggled immensely throughout their franchise. So it doesn't look good for Osweiler, but because they're playing him so much, it wouldn't surprise me if he's back under center again this upcoming week. But I mean, only time will tell when we see Osweiler again. But I mean, if I were a betting man, it'd be this week we see him back.
One of the stupidest things in sports is this whole fining thing. I mean, I wish this money went to somewhere that it was worthwhile going to, instead of, just the league itself. And in FIFA, and we all know the good old FIFA and the corruption that has scandaled it, now we have a whole nother thing going on. So, if you didn't know, FIFA decided that they were going to fine the English and Scottish national teams because they wore poppy armbands in their qualifying matches not too long ago for Remembrance Day. And England got fined 35,000 euros and Scotland 15,000 euros. Why is this a fine? I'm really at a loss for words, because this is it's supposed to symbolize something, remembering the people of the past, the ones who fought for your country, and this and that. Well, why does FIFA step in and do this? Is this saying, okay, that's cool that you're respecting them, but this is a diss to other nations? I don't know why is this happening? Why is this happening?
It depends on what's in the rule book, I guess, technically, if you're allowed to wear anything like that, I think is what it would come down to. Maybe you could make the argument as well, and I don't think this is the way it went down, but a lot of sports fans don't like the over politicalization and nationalization of sports when it comes to playing national anthems, stuff like that. I don't know if remembering those that have fought for the country would fall underneath, playing the anthem before a game when it comes to over nationalizing and politicizing the event. But I mean, maybe that's where that could fit into. Just like you, I'm kind of baffled hearing that. I guess that they have this set idea of what they want for the uniforms, and maybe that doesn't count.
Well, apparently it is a rule for their 211 member associations, so good pick up on that one. That was kind of a test, but also the fact that I genuinely think that it's kind of stupid. It's Remembrance Day. Doesn't every nation do that? Or maybe we're just England, Canada, the States. Maybe it's just our thing to do.
I definitely agree with you.
In hockey, there's a billion different hockey leagues within the hockey league. And there's different age classes, this and that. And so there was a Junior A Canada team that happened. And then now we're going into Boxing Day. But what's going on with this whole... I just feel like there's a constant confusion about which tiers what. Is there a reason why there's so many different tiers within a single sport?
Well, the World Juniors are obviously pretty popular for obvious reasons. The CHL is the biggest junior hockey market, biggest league in this country, and that's where those players essentially go to play, and including some down from the NCAA. Those are essentially the under 20s. They have different age limits, obviously, and with the World Junior A championships, which just concluded with the Americans beating Canada East, which included Wellington's Nick Mucci. I guess that would come down to just the fact that allows players that are in that age like that tier of hockey, I guess, to play in the same sort of tournament. I mean, they break down Canada into about 3 or 4 nations for that tournament, and maybe that. I mean, we have a lot of talent here in Canada in hockey. Who am I kidding? But maybe that's a bit much. But I mean, you have the Ivan Holinka that takes place during the summer, so you have a lot of obviously different hockey tournaments, and a lot of that builds up to guys in age, getting a chance to eventually play in the World Juniors. For in the case of the guys that are in Junior A, if they're not exactly focused on the CHL, maybe they're going to go down to NCAA hockey down in the States, but that still gives them that chance to play in the World Juniors when they get to that age where it's like 18, 19 years old, and you're being looked at by Team Canada.
Another thing that's coming out, and this is by TSN, so take this with a grain of salt, because last year was all, Stamkos. This year, we're already getting on the frenzy of John Tavares, as he's going to be a free agent, potentially. Yeah, I don't really see why he would stay with the Islanders. I don't see the appeal unless he really likes the New York life. Do I think he's going to go with the Maple Leafs? Not in the slightest. But do you think the TSN has any validity with their, Tavares is coming to Toronto?
Isn't this just a replay of the Stamkos situation?
Oh, exactly. That's basically a carbon copy of it.
Exactly. And I mean, to your point with the Islanders, I mean, they're really in a confusing spot. Lost the other night to the Senators, but I mean, just in general, they don't seem to have any general direction right now. The coach may be under a little bit of fire right now, and their arena is a little confusing as well. The fact that they're playing in an arena that was built for basketball right now, and the fact that because now they're playing in Brooklyn and they're no longer on the island, they feel the need to wear these Brooklyn Nets reminiscent jerseys that are black and white and gray and doesn't resemble the New York Islanders in the slightest.
The world is an interesting place. That is all I have to say regarding that one. But Trevor, if you want, feel free. You can talk about your fantasy. You did pretty good this year. You're in the final. I mean, who else is in the final?
You are.
Oh, look at that. 12-team league. And
I mean, hey, this is why we have a sports show, isn't it?
Fair enough. But do you find that you're getting more into the game now that you play fantasy? Because that's something that there's a lot of people out there that don't, really know much about fantasy, and they hear about it, but they've never actually participated in a league.
Yeah, well, I'm an incredibly competitive person. I don't know if you could tell that by listening to this show, but I'm an incredibly competitive person, and I like to win. And I probably wouldn't be this into fantasy football if my record was flipped. But the fact that I had a pretty successful season, I lost 3 games, so that would make me 11-3 on the season, and I would have beat you in that final week if Melvin Gordon didn't get hurt. I mean, hey, when you're successful like that, it's hard not to like winning, and now I have a shot here to beat you again in the final, like I did back in week 3 or 4.
So remember, you can try to get your friends into fantasy football or any kind of fantasy, but realize they're going to ridicule you all the time if you lose, or even if you win, somehow they'll change it to make it seem like you lost. That's it for this edition of BSS Sports. Make sure to like us on Facebook and at Twitter at BSS Sports, archiving all of our works on YouTube at BSS Productions. For Trevor Struthers and myself, Steven Schill, we'll catch you next Monday.
You're going down, Steve.